Hey there, Philip the Librarian here. Today I'm going to review the book No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. Now, I want to start by saying that if you prefer conventional stories with a beginning, a middle, and an end, stories that are straightforward and have clear images that you don't have to think too hard about, then this might not be the book for you. On the cover, it is labeled as a novel, but this is a real hybrid book. It's like a tweet collection, a joke book, a series of free-form poems, a memoir because it's semi-autobiographical, all combined into a stream of consciousness narrative that is fun but very challenging to stay invested in. In fact, my nickname for this novel is Mrs. Digital Way. Get it? It's like Mrs. Dalloway. I crack myself up. Now, to clarify, none of the characters has a name in this book. It's told in the third person, and the protagonist, a professional online writer, is just she. I sometimes mentally referred to her as Frau. The only concrete information about her is that she's married, she has a brother and a sister, and she lives in Ohio. Also, this novel makes constant mention of the term the portal, which seems to be just a fancy term for the internet. The cover of this novel shows something that looks like a ring, and I'm assuming it's supposed to be the portal that Frau goes through in order to enter the internet and go to work. But I'm pretty sure this ring is also a Mobius strip. A Mobius strip is a surface with only one side. It's often represented with a strip of paper that is halfway twisted around and then taped together to form a loop. This is often used as a symbol of self-contradiction or impossibility, but here I think it is a symbol for infinity, and I'll get to that later. The book has two parts, and the first part has no coherent story. The first half of this novel is a bizarre hodgepodge of news headlines and anecdotes and infamous controversial postings. The narrative describes the daily routine of Frau, the online writer, who is constantly posting about any given topic. Sometimes the narrative shows what she is doing, and sometimes it shows what she is writing. It's hard to distinguish the two, and I think that's the point. She is just constantly posting about random observations. She'll notice something and talk about it, or she'll notice what someone else has written and talk about that, or notice what other people are saying about what other people have written, etc. It feels like a continuous cycle of searching and observing and reacting and responding, people's thoughts building upon each other like barnacles on the underside of the Titanic. Terabytes of information that encompass everything and yet follow no specific order and become incomprehensible. It's like the internet is supposed to be a map of the world, but the map has actually gotten bigger and less organized than the thing it's trying to describe. I think this narrative captures how it feels to navigate the internet today. The portal is a stand-in for the internet, but sometimes Frau describes it like an actual place, a setting where everyone is constantly interacting, where people's thoughts are bouncing off each other, and you can get lost in it if you're not careful. She constantly gives us lists, political updates, random statistics, hyperboles, but mixed in with this is a lot of reflection about how little this stuff really matters. People rant and lecture, but most of it's forgotten by tomorrow. And I think that's one theme here. The way we have so much to read on the internet today that we just dismiss it as noise because we don't agree with it or we don't care about it. Or is it our stubbornness, our refusal to let the majority of things change us? We laugh at other people's mistakes far more often than we stop to reflect upon our own mistakes. There is a profound irony at work here, in the ridiculous quips and sudden topical jumps that Lockwood has lobbed at us one after another, because we have learned to appreciate absurdity so much due to the internet. We all like weird stories on the internet. Frau gives an example. A war criminal committed suicide by drinking poison in The Hague, and this was somehow the funniest thing we had ever seen in our lives. Something about the teeny little vial he used, in combination with the wild barb of light in his left eye, and how after he drank the poison he declared, "I just drank poison," Oh my God, it was so good. His suicide, which should have been an act of privacy, as complete as folding his hands above a kneeler, now belonged to the people. The poison, catchy, sang through our veins. We embrace absurdity. We expect it. Disturbing anecdotes turn into crazy stories with funny twist endings, even if the anecdotes are true stories about people dying or scientific phenomena or political upheavals. One recurring image in the narrative is blood. It's mentioned several times when a person or an animal is injured. Sometimes Frau describes it as a red blood jet, but the protagonist doesn't make much of this recurring image at first. Then, in the second half, Frau's life takes a left turn when her sister's pregnancy becomes unexpectedly complicated. Frau has to reflect on her own life. This is absurd, this new development with her unborn niece, but is this absurdity actually funny? And then absurd takes on a new meaning, not funny, but beautiful. Because the protagonist experiences something whose meaning she cannot readily explain to the world. As the book puts it, if all she was funny, and none of this was funny, where did that leave her? Before, she always dealt with the discrepancy between intentions and outcomes, and she wove it into something funny. But is it really that funny that we are all trying to find meaning in a world where we have mostly forgotten how to produce anything meaningful? Or was everyone actually trying? Maybe a lot of people on the internet actually had discovered a great secret of life or a fascinating issue, and we, the readers, just did not want to take it seriously. Do our actions have more consequences than we realized? And I think that shows in some of Frau's later musings. In the first part, Frau becomes famous for asking the question, can a dog be twins? And at first it feels like a ridiculous parody of a riddle, like why is a raven like a writing desk? But then later in the novel, Frau contemplates, when a dog runs to you and nudges against your hand for love and you say automatically, I know, what else are you talking about except the world? This is a changed woman, a person who wants to assure others that she feels connected to the rest of the world. Later we are told, she wanted to stop people on the street and say, do you know about this? You should know about this. No one is talking about this. In many ways, these passages remind me of the Dostoevsky novel The Idiot, from when it describes Prince Mishkin's feeling of total harmony and euphoria right before having a seizure. This feeling that everything in the world is just right, that we only have to connect to everyone else around us and we can be perfectly happy. No one is talking about this is one of the most serious reflections on humor that I have ever read. It contains vulgarity, complex scientific issues, heartrending loss, and then it shows petty, hilarious responses to those things because that's how we're wired. We have internalized so many rules and etiquettes that we're taken by surprise when we see something different. But then it shows a different approach. Laughing at something does not mean that we cannot take it seriously. We can laugh at something and still allow it to change our direction in life. The question, can a dog be twins, sounds nonsensical. But a dog can be twins if you look at the dog in a certain light, such as when a dog becomes attached to the narrator's niece. It's the question of how much we allow the things around us to affect us. Can we learn to love everyone, no matter how different they are? Laughing at them does not mean we cannot love them. This is a musing about the power of laughter. At first the laughter of derision, and then the laughter of joy itself. We always have something new to express, a new reason to live, a new thing to explore, and the internet exists precisely for this kind of expression. The narrator starts out cynical, but after an unthinkable family dilemma, she realizes how wonderful the weirdness of the world really is. She finds things that no one is talking about yet, and she resolves to show people what they are missing. This idea that we can all connect with each other, this ties in with the recurring blood symbolism and the Mobius strip on the cover. Blood flows through all of us, just as the information on the internet flows through all of us and connects all of us. Just as the Mobius strip has only one surface that runs infinitely, connecting all, so the internet connects us all. In short, no one is talking about this asks a lot of the reader, but I think it's worth the effort, and I recommend it. So, that's my review of No One is Talking About This. Do you agree with my assessment? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to subscribe to my channel. This is Philip the Librarian, signing off.